We've been talking to you all day today. Have you been hearing us?
Yes. I think you knew I wanted to talk to you really bad. Okay, I'll start right off. What is the best way? Since you said that the most important thing that we can feel is how we feel about ourselves. What is the best way to obtain or, activate self-appreciation?
Well, the most important thing that we want to say to you is, don't be mad at yourself when you're not doing it. Words such as, I'm doing all right. Words such as, it's getting better and better. Words such as, oh, I wish I'd known then what I know now, but I'm glad I know now what I know now. Words such as, I'm sure that there are people who have been very troubled in the past who are feeling very good now. And as I am troubled, I can get feeling good as they are feeling good. In other words, there are others who have been where I am who are in a better place.
Okay, well,
It's just like talking it down.
Okay.
Here's the thing that's tricky about this. Have you ever had an argument with someone? And as they are spewing their anger or their point of view from a place of anger, it usually doesn't evoke from you a kind explanation. Because for you to converse with them at all, you have to meet them on their vibrational level. So what we want to say to you is, even while you begin to receive the thoughts that are negative to you, that are condescending or even unkind.
No, well, they usually tell me to do negative things is what my voices are like.
Another part of you could say, no, that's not who I am. But by the time you're receiving it, you're already sort of caught up with the argument, so to speak. So we would not try to debate. We would not try to make anything happen then. We would say, later I think I'll take a nap. We would say, later I think I'll read a book. We'd say, later I think I will go to a movie. Because if you could turn your attention to anything else, you could not turn your attention to that. Always when we visit with you or someone who is having an experience like this, we can feel others who are listening in feel worried that there is some sort of assertion that could dominate your thoughts. And we want very much to explain that that does not exist, that it is attraction. Sometimes we think you would rather think, well, they are asserting than I am attracting. But in the long run, you will be more satisfied in knowing that you have achieved a vibration that is attracting that, and you've just done it so long that you've given them language.
Okay, well, that helps.
And that's why they can hit you where it hurts. In other words, they can get right to your insecurities. You get a sense of what we're talking about?
Okay, well, one of the things, since we're extensions of you, non-physical energy, I wanted to know some of the things that you appreciate about yourself, just so to enhance my self-appreciation of who I am.
You're understanding that what you are receiving has nothing to do with source energy.
That's correct.
And so you are wanting source energy to explain to you, what is that about?
Well, it's just an aid to help me better appreciate myself. And I thought if I asked you what it is you appreciate about yourself, that I could kind of, blend into that.
Well, we will do that, but we think there is a even more powerful thing. We would like to tell you what we appreciate about you.
Okay.
Now, you didn't like that as much, did you?
Well, I'm under the impression I'm an extension of non-physical, my non-physical
You are,
self.
but there was something interesting that happened there because you said, Abraham, tell me wonderful things about you. And you were not resistant about that. You were prepared to hear it and receive it. But when we said, well, we'll do that later, but first we want to tell you wonderful things about you, you're not ready to hear that.
Okay.
Now, what's up with that? It's all right. It's all right. We're just teasing you a little bit because we want you to realize, it's the same thing that we were talking about with our friend earlier. It doesn't matter whether you are appreciating yourself or whether you are appreciating Abraham or whether you are appreciating someone else. The thing that most matters is that you are appreciating. And when you are in the mode of appreciation, you could not be in the same vibration that would hear those voices that are negative. So we would say a game of appreciation could be the very most powerful tool for you, no matter what it is that you are appreciating.
Any aspects. I mean,
Any
I was
aspect.
looking for aspects,
Well,
generally speaking.
we appreciate our unlimitedness, and we appreciate our awareness that this is an expanding universe and that we will never be fulfilled. And we appreciate our ability to hold any thought in consciousness and receive full description. We appreciate being able to look through the eyes of your puppy, or through the eyes of a kitten, or through the eyes of a frog, or through the eyes of a human, and experience the full deliciousness of a physical environment. We appreciate our awareness of how everything fits together, and most of all, we adore and appreciate law of attraction, which manages all of this. We appreciate our physical human extensions, which allow the greatest basis for the expanding universe. And we appreciate the willingness of those like you to experience contrast, which makes you reach in terms of desires for things that you right now can't even contemplate or experience. We appreciate your willingness to come into an environment where everything is not always rosy in order to inspire within yourselves the desire for something that goes beyond. We appreciate this time-space reality and all of its variety, which gives all of you the basis of our expanding universe. We appreciate our ability to focus, and we appreciate your willingness to allow us to focus through your thought process. We appreciate the dog that romps and the bird that flies and the human that adores. We even appreciate the human who hates, because in the process of the contrasting experience is born the greater awareness of what is truly wanted. We appreciate, most of all, the never-endedness of our experience. We appreciate the now moment that feels so delicious that we cannot even find words to describe it. We appreciate your willingness to sit and hear us, even though you can hear in a verbal way and in an intellectual thought way only a fraction of what we are expressing to you now, and we appreciate that your unfolding experience will reveal more of this. We appreciate that we can download information right here, right now, that you receive vibrationally, that will serve you all of the days of your life as you move through experience and get into the place that you are able to then allow the fullness of what we are offering here. We appreciate that we are able to feel adoration for you beyond physical or human description, and that we can flow it to you, and that every cell of your body is reaching for it and meeting it, even though intellectually you cannot really hear it and understand it. We appreciate knowing that as time goes by, you will open more fully to it.
Okay.
Oh, and there is so much more.
I'm going to try this.
Okay, my understanding is the less resistance we have, the more energy, source energy we can flow through our bodies, correct?
There are two aspects to this creating. There is the summoning of the energy, and there is the allowing of the energy. So, extreme discomfort is about summoning more energy than you are allowing to flow.
So when you're ill, you're calling for more energy, but you're not allowing it. And that's where the illness comes in. Is that correct?
Illness is about the contradiction in energies. It's about the misalignment of energies.
Okay. The reason for my question is you have said that our connection to source energy or source energy is at a cellular level. That we're thinking it's up here somewhere, and it's really at a cellular level within our being. And I was trying to get a visual on allowing that energy to come in at the most basic element of my being, which is...
Well, the cells certainly are calling energy. That's what your life force is. That's the cells asking for the energy and the source answering that. But as you, as a human focal point, get an idea, your idea summons energy in an even stronger way than the cellular energy. In other words, when you think thoughts, when you focus with your thinking mechanism, you are summoning energy even more powerfully. So you have a picture of energy being called through you. And for now, let's say the cells are calling some of it and you're calling it through your desires. In other words, you know you want to feel good. You know you want to be of value. You know you want to be a good friend. You know you want your body to feel good. You know you want the world to be a better place. In other words, there are all kinds of things that you've lived that have caused you to conclude your preferences. And those preferences are calling energy through you. So you are a powerful focal point. As we talk about the art of allowing, you could say it, in other words, by the path of least resistance. In other words, the path of most allowing and the path of least resistance is the same path. So you've got to find your path of least resistance. And we want you to, just for a little while, let that be your quest. In other words, don't try to find the path of greatest truth or the path that the most important people have always followed, or don't try to find the path that most people agree on. Try to find your path of least resistance. And in order to do that, you got to accept that you've been asking and Source is answering, and you've just got to find a way of letting that well-being, that abundance, that clarity, that good stuff in by finding the path of least resistance. So we'll give you some examples of this, and then we'll try to get with you right to the heart of what you're talking about or what's bothering you. So, for example, let's say someone is sick and they've been struggling with it for a while and they're not getting any better, and they want to be better. They want to be better, but they're not better. And right now, their belief is that this thing is just going on and on and on and on and on. So we would say you must find a path of least resistance. And so we might suggest to them, why don't you go to the physician, and since he has undoubtedly seen many things like this, let him help you to find a remedy. Now, for one, that might be a path of least resistance. But let's say this one's mother, when he was little, died in the care of a doctor. So going to a physician is certainly not going to be his path of least resistance. So someone else says, why don't you pray about it? But he prayed while his mother was dying. And so praying for him is certainly not a path of least resistance. So now he's in this place where he can't see. In other words, he doesn't want to go to the doctor because he doesn't trust the doctor. He doesn't want to pray because he doesn't trust whatever that is. And so he's in a place where he's not allowing himself a path of least resistance. Now, what we would say to him is, pet your cat, go fishing. Get your mind off of it. In other words, distracting yourself from the topic altogether might be the path of least resistance, unless the manifestation is so severe within the physical experience that he cannot distract himself from it. You get a sense of it? We were visiting with a woman a little while ago, and she was talking about her mother, and she was feeling such struggle about her relationship with her mother. And over the course of a rather long conversation with us, she explained that she does not believe that her mother will ever be happy. And also in the same conversation, she explained, without even recognizing that she was giving it all to us, that she believes that it is her job to make her mother happy. So here she is in this impossible place, because she believes that her mother will not be happy, and she believes that it's her job to do it. So she's in this impossible situation. And we said to her, you've got to find some path of less resistance. You've got to find a way of thinking about this in a way that lets the energy begin to move. And you know when you've found it because you begin to feel relief, or you've got to get off the subject altogether. It's not your job to create anybody else's reality. It's your job to create your own reality. And if you will choose things that feel good while you're thinking about it, you're going to have one whopping of a good reality, you see. But then you say, oh, I feel bad. My reality shouldn't be good when this one's reality isn't good. Let me see if I can focus upon their reality that isn't good and make it better. But it's not your job to focus upon somebody else's reality. And so often when you do, you find not a path of less resistance for you, but a path of greater resistance for you. So if it's a subject that you're thinking about a lot, you've got to find a way of giving yourself some relief. And sometimes the relief is an action, sometimes the relief is a thought, sometimes the relief is distraction altogether. But if it's a subject that comes up often, what we notice is usually sooner or later, you've got to take that subject and you've got to work it over until that subject can live within you in something that is not a painful place. This is the thing. So many physical friends come into this environment, and as they begin to talk about deliberate creation, they're still saying to us what humans globally have eternally done, it seems. They say, I can't feel good as long as that's like that. That's got to change before I can feel good.